time together. So I'm excited to participate in the first of this series on calmness for meditation and healing. And we are going to go through tonight just a brief talk about interpretations of resiliency and use of meditation in one's life. I want to share with you a little bit about the clinical work and clinical research that we do at Mass General Hospital, and particularly the work that I do with cancer patients and survivors. Today, I'm just going to do really a light touch on some of our perspectives on resiliency and meditation, and then we'll do some interactive work together. So first of all, resilience is at the key of everything that we talk about. Our resilience is being tested in many ways today, with the pandemic, with the fall schedules starting off different than people have ever expected before. And resiliency is really one's ability to bounce back when faced with challenges, as we are all facing now. I know many of you who have cancer and have coped throughout cancer treatment, post-cancer treatment, or living with cancer, have become adept at coping with health uncertainty. Now, in our environment, we have uncertainty in many different aspects of our life. So I hope at the end of today's talk, we can have you reflect a little bit about how you manage uncertainty, how many of you actually are probably experts in uncertainty, and how that might be a strength in your life. The definition of resilience that I've seen throughout different literature on resilience is the capacity and dynamic, so ever-changing processes of adaptively overcoming stress and adversity. So the focus of our work at Mass General, particularly cancer patients, is enhancing one's resiliency in response to day-to-day stressors. So it's accepting we're all going to have stress, and how do we handle it the best on a day-to-day basis? I kind of like the analogy someone once gave me of a rubber band. If you don't stress a rubber band out at all, it's kind of flaccid and has low utility. But if you stretch it too much, it snaps. And so the question is, what is your own level within each of you of that rubber band elasticity? And how much are you feeling stretched right now? The definition of resilience is to be able to take this stress and adversity and maintain some level of adaptive functioning. Our work is based a lot on the diathesis stress model. The diathesis stress model basically says the playing field is not level. We are all born with certain types of coping skills and certain types of family advantages and of biological advantages or disadvantages. And one's ability to respond and to develop coping skills to deal with the different adversity that hits in life, combined with the natural strengths or challenges that we have been dealt with, is what determines how resilient we will be. So we call this the diathesis stress model. It simply says there's a combination of what we're born with. It's matched with different challenges in our life, and how we cope with it really determines one's own resilience. The stress response is a physiological state that was actually coined here in the Harvard medical system many years ago by Walter Cannon, who was a physician who described the flight or fight response to stress, which means when we're faced with a stressor, a challenge, we have this set of events that happens to us physically, and it ends up creating an emergency response where we decide we are going to flee or we are going to fight. This is work that was done over 100 years ago, but it's still relevant to us today. The problem that we have now with a flight or fight response is it was really an innate experience that was developed when we were very primitive. We had life or death situations on a day-to-day basis hundreds and hundreds of years ago. But today, it's still how our bodies are primed. And so when we're faced with stressors, we still have a quick, immediate physical reaction. And if we aren't in touch with that, that could cause some downstream health effects of always being stressed out, or as we call it, living in the stress response. Here are our bunnies that depict the fight, flight, or now we call freeze response. The flight, fight, freeze response simply means that we either choose to fight, flee, or in recent years, we added a third F, which was freeze, which means we kind of stop responding because we're so worn down. Allostatic load is the wear and tear of our bodies when we're faced with stress on and on. And when we're chronically stressed, our bodies work overtime because we are in the stress response. So it's important to think about how your body responds in the stress response and what you are doing in terms of being able to fight against that response. So this is one body's response to stress. Allostatic load is the wear and tear of being constantly exposed to stress. And allostasis is kind of the balance that we hope to achieve. A stressor happens and we return to baseline. A stressor happens, we get activated, go into the stress response, and we turn to baseline. Over time, we become very elevated, and we have this concept called the allostatic load, which is the wear and tear. And what happens is, as we become stressed, we never kind of return back to normal, and each additional stress piles on. I'd like you all to think about today about how you might experience this and what you can do to protect yourself from the building of stress that can cause this wear and tear. A combination of having to be caring for your own health, caring for others, loved ones' health, in the context of the pandemic, can be a pile of stressors. And so the question is, how do you get yourself the tools that you need to be able to return to a healthy functioning so that you don't feel like you're living in the stress response? How does stress affect you? These are diagrams that we have of people's different allostatic load. This is the normal response. A stressor happens and we return to normal. This is the next example, was repeated hits. That if stressor happens, we have an extremely high level of stress, and then we come down. This is someone who we call goes from 0 to 60 all the time. This is the prolonged stress response, where someone is kind of always, that lots and lots and lots of stressors build up, and then they're constantly in a stress response. This is more of an anxious person. And the last is the freeze bunny, when someone just stops responding to stress. Not everybody experiences all of these, but oftentimes we have patterns and go-tos. So again, thinking and reflecting, how does stress affect you, and how might you be looking to combat these different responses to stress? The relaxation response, for those of you who remember this red book, Dr. Herbert Benson is a cardiologist in the Harvard Medical System and coined the term the relaxation response, which was the physiological state opposite the stress response. He said that with proper meditation, one can take themselves out of the stress response and actually put themselves into a physiological state in which they were relaxed. And so his work was really at that time considered quite novel, in that it was really in the 1970s, a period where people hadn't really thought about the mind-body connection, but he really believed that by practice of meditation, one can put oneself in the relaxation response and actually help one's health outcomes. He had been working with cardiology patients, but since then, this work has been extended to many patients of many chronic conditions. So the body's response to stress, when encountered by stress, we have an increase in many different physiological experiences, and simply the body's response, the relaxation response, has a decrease to that. And that's something we're hoping that we'll get to work on in the next time period. So our work, Devin had, I think, had foreshadowed saying that she hoped her dog didn't interrupt, and sure enough, my dog would I have a rescue, and she would like to participate in this. So I'm going to try to distract her so that we can talk about resiliency. So this is our model of resiliency. This is our model of resiliency here, where, try this. Okay, so what we have here is the work we do when we're teaching about meditation and resiliency is to think about this triad of tools. I'm going to walk through today our elicitation exercise, otherwise known as different forms of meditation. We talk to people about being aware of their stress. I'm going to go through a brief exercise, and then adaptive strategies is kind of promoting positivity. So thinking about meditative exercises for calmness, being aware of your stress and of the diagrams that I just showed so that you know when to elicit those different exercises and thoughts and things that will put you in the RR state, and adaptive strategies like healthy eating and using humor and creativity and acceptance that can help buffer stress. And those combined, we believe, creates one's resiliency. I'm going to do an exercise now for folks. I'm going to do a simple exercise, a meditation exercise from the work that we do when we teach meditation with our patients or in individual group work. We start with breathing. The breath is really the core to all of our experiences. And starting with breath awareness is very important. So what we will do is start with a breath awareness exercise and then move into what I'm going to call single-pointed meditation, which is a focus on 2 words, which we will repeat once that noise stops. So if everyone wants to just close their eyes and get into a comfortable position, I'm going to ask you to start to focus on your breath. It's really important to be aware of the physical sensation of the breath. It's really the key to all of our bodily systems. When we're stressed, we constrict our breath and we're not aware of how we're breathing. So I'd like everybody to close their eyes, to breathe in and breathe out. As you begin to do so, I want you to attend to the sensations of your breath. I'd like you to think about the speed of your breath. Think about the physical feelings of your breath. Is it cold? Is it warm? And what is the spirit of your breath? Is it jagged? Is it smooth? I'm going to continue to ask you to breathe in, breathing out, slowing your breath as you go. Your inhale should match your exhale. Your mouth should be slightly pursed to allow the breath to come in and allow the breath to come out. Continue to be aware of the sensations of the breath, the experiences of the coolness or the warmth, of the jaggedness or the smoothness. As you continue to slow your breath, I'd like you to focus on 2 words, which are going to be just and this. For the first inhale, pick just, and as you exhale, pick this. So just and this. Just this. I'm going to pause for about 1 minute and let you slowly practice just on your in-breath and this on your exhale. continue to breathe. We'll try another word pairing. On the in-breath, say pleasant, and on the exhale, moment. Inhale, present, exhale, moment. As you complete one more inhale of present and exhale moment, I'd like you to attend to the sensations of your breath now, its speed, the temperature, its shape. Notice how it's different than just a few minutes ago when you started. I'm going to count to 10 and ask you to return back and open your eyes. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Open your eyes. Feel the sensations of your body. Come back to the group. This was just a few minutes. When we do meditations or relaxation response elicitation, we often start with about 10 minutes. People build to 20 or a longer practice. It can be once a day, twice a day. What we find with meditation practice, similar to any routine, is that if it is embedded within your day-to-day lifestyle, you're more likely to engage in it. So oftentimes when patients I work with are learning or practicing meditation, they often do it in the morning when they wake up, or the evening when they go to bed, or they can pair it with midday activities if that's something to think about. But the purpose of this meditative exercise is to pull one back and see within a few moments the ability to slow things down, to be in touch with your physical experiences, to notice your breath, and to be able to prime yourself to have an awareness of and appreciation of your breathing and of your being. I'm going to slowly switch gears now. I'm going to go into more of an awareness exercise, which is the second component, as I mentioned. And I want you to think about your body and being, it's a bit of almost a battery is the analogy that we use. We use battery because it's easy to identify charges and drains on a battery. A battery functions and needs to be charged, and a battery can sustain many drains or use. If we think about ourselves as a battery, I'd like you to think a little bit about what your drains are on a day-to-day basis. What are the things that deplete your battery? And if you have a pencil or paper, you can write it down. And then I'd like you to think a little bit about your charges. I'll give you a moment to do that. Then I'm going to ask you to ask yourself some questions. And when after I wrap up, we'll have time for Q&A if you want to discuss your battery. But for now, this is just an exercise for you to do for yourself, thinking about what on a day-to-day basis drains you, particularly at this moment in time, and what charges you. I'm going to ask you to come back to the group for a moment, our virtual group. I'd like to ask you to think about some questions. Oftentimes when people look on their drains or charges, they look at the number. So how many are in each column? You can also look at the strength though. How strong are the drains compared to how strong are the charges? Do you use your charges? And importantly, what might be in both columns? These are all important questions to ask. We get back to that thought about the diathesis stress model. We can handle a lot of drains, but we have to make sure that we have the charges to replenish. Meditation can be a charge, but we have many, many different charges. It's important to be aware of and access these charges, particularly at a time of high stress. So put this aside, take your time. At some other point, pull out your battery, reflect on it, see if there are any drains you can lessen or any charges you can enhance. I'm going to do another meditation exercise, and then we're going to talk a bit about an adaptive strategy. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes again. And again, we're going to go to focus on our breathing. Focus on your breath. Focus on the speed of your breath. Focus on the temperature of your breath. Focus on the shape of your breath. I'm going to do an exercise called autogenic a body scan exercise. We're going to just have simple awareness of your body. I'm going to end with a couple counting minis. As you breathe in and out, I'd like you to notice the process of your body, breathing in and breathing out. Quiet your mind, quiet your body. Imagine all the tension and stress silently being released with each out breath. I want you to slowly count down from 10 to 1 and continue slowing your breath as you near closer to 1. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm going to ask you to bring your focus all the way down to your right foot. Maybe it's resting on the floor. Maybe it's stretched alongside. And literally bring your focus to the big toe in your right foot. Bring your awareness to your second toe, your third toe, your fourth and fifth toe. Bring your awareness to the ball of your foot, the arch, the top of your foot. Allow your whole foot now to relax with the support of the surface it's upon, feeling spacious and light. Now bring your awareness slowly to your left foot, starting with the big toe on your left side, going to the second toe, the third toe, the fourth toe, and the fifth toe. The ball of your foot, the arch, and the top of the foot. Allow your toe to rest on whatever surface is being supported on your foot. I'd like you to bring your attention now back to your right side, to your right ankle, your calf, your knee, the space between the knee, the thigh, the back of the thigh, the right hip. The sensation of this entire right side of your leg from your hip to the floor. Now bring your awareness to the left side, starting at your ankle, the calf, the knee, the space between the knee, the thigh, the back of the thigh, and the hip. Be aware of the sensation of your entire leg now, from your hip down to your ankle. And feel the sensation now of your entire lower body. Slowly move your awareness now from your buttocks to your lower back, your middle back, your upper back. And notice each vertebrae by vertebrae, feeling the space through the muscles in your back. Bring your awareness now to your lower abdomen, your mid-abdomen, your chest, and focus on this space as you breathe. Be aware now of the sensations of the upper part of your body, from your chest through to the top of your hips. Bring your awareness now slowly to your shoulder, moving down, beginning at the right shoulder. Down your upper arm, through to your elbow, down through the wrist, and flowing out your entire right hand. Be aware of the sensations of your thumb, of your second finger, third finger, fourth finger, and fifth finger. And awareness now running up your fingers to the top of your right shoulder. Bring your awareness now slowly to your left shoulder. Move your focus down your upper arm, through your elbow, down through your wrist, and through your left hand. Bring your attention to your left thumb, your second finger, third finger, fourth finger, and fifth finger. Be aware of the focus running through your fingers, up through your left shoulder. Continue to breathe, Be aware of the sensations now of your upper body, extending from your hips through your shoulders, down through the course of your arms, and down through your fingers. Continue to breathe. Slowly move your attention from the base of your neck up higher through your chin. The sensations of your mouth, building up through the nose to the top of your head. Ever so gentle. Imagine the sensations on the top of your head, running back down from your forehead, your cheeks, down through your chin. And feeling the sensations of your facial being. Take a moment to experience the feelings from the top of your forehead, through your chin, moving down through your chest, out your shoulder, down your arms through your fingers, down to your thighs, the knees, the calves, your ankles and feet, and out through your toes. Notice these sensations, these experiences. Continue to breathe. Take a moment to pause on being with your body. Continue taking slow breaths. As you are aware of being with your body, slowly visualize in your mind the experience of being back in your room. We're going to count back from 10 to 1. Join back together from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and slowly join back together with the group. Take a few deep breaths. Notice the sensation of being back in the group, the experiences of being with your body. You can return here anytime to feel the relaxation, to feel the connectedness, to feel a sensation of being in the relaxation experience. I'm going to transition now to our final exercise about appreciation. Appreciation is something that we talk about a lot in our work. Appreciation is taking a moment to notice something small and to experience it. It's a different form of meditation to experience the sensations of the appreciation. Appreciation is different than gratitude. Gratitude is an experience of gratefulness for something that one has. But appreciation are the moments in one's daily life that we often are not focused enough to engage in, particularly when we're in the stress response. We've all had the experience of going to the sea, a warm outdoor place, and just taking a breath and taking in the smells. When we're in the relaxation response, when we're primed for appreciative experiences, it can be very satisfying. But often in our day-to-day lives, we're too busy to be able to stop and notice these experiences. And so a different way to experience meditation is to practice, notice appreciations, and focus and be in the moment with what that is. The most common example I use is the taste of coffee in the morning. Appreciations can be focused on any sense, whether it's taste, smell, sight, or sound. Appreciations can also be interaction with others. The smile from a friend, the hug from a child, a stranger opening a door, a text, a beautiful cloud. Those are all appreciations. Often we don't notice these things, and more often we don't share them. When we are in the stress response and throughout our daily lives, we do notice and share the negative things. And the practice of appreciation is being aware of, experiencing, and sharing the positive things. And if we have time when we come to the group, or maybe we can start the Q&As, Devin, by people sharing an appreciation. So I want you to think a bit about your day. And one thing that you now can say you appreciated, but you didn't really notice before. And maybe we can practice sharing those with each other before you go to bed with someone else in your life, whether it's via text or via call or someone in your home. Okay. Grab that appreciation. I'm going to end. I had told Devin, we actually have resiliency groups that we run throughout the cancer centers that are now virtually. We're starting an October group. If you're interested, I think Devin can send out a flyer. We can't post it here, correct? Or I can pull it, actually I can pull it up screen share when we're done. In groups that we recently ran, not with survivor groups, but with frontline clinicians, one of the clinicians had been trying to set aside time to practice her meditation and said she was really busy that day, but took a pause and said to herself, this is my moment. And I love that. And I think that that's a new mantra that I've taken. It's a lovely way to learn from each other how we can make this our own moment. And a moment to relax, a moment to meditate, a moment to reflect can be very powerful. I'm going to end there. Devin, do you want to open it up to questions, thoughts? People can share appreciations. I don't know how we want to do this. Maybe people can ask a question, but if they do, they can open with sharing, introducing themselves and sharing an appreciation.
Sure. Thank you so much, Elyse, for your talk and for leading us in those exercises. As Elyse mentioned, we do have time now for some questions, or if there's anything you'd like to share, you can do so in the chat box, and I will be able to read those aloud to Elyse. And in the meantime, Elyse, if you wanted to share and pull up the flyer, it looks like I'm able to send the file through the chat box.
Okay. There's a lot of chat things. Do you want me to go through these? Hey, Devin, we can see Elyse. Oh, you can see my notes? Oh, sorry about that. Okay.
In the meantime, we do still have some time if there's any questions or anything anyone would like to share.
What would you say to folks who think their mind is always so active they don't think they can be still enough to meditate? Oh, that's a good one. It's from Lauren. Okay. I think that we all often feel this way when we don't stop in our busy days. We don't think it would be feasible to stand still and practice something like meditation. I'm someone who's always on the go, but meditation can be daunting to those of us who are go, go, go. But just taking a few moments to meditate, to reflect, can bring a lot of calmness and perspective into one's life. And so I would say to that busy person is, see what works for you. See if you could do mini exercises, starting with slow breaths, counting from 10 to 1 when you wake up. Thinking about doing slow stretches as you're noticing your breath. And seeing if you can tolerate 5 and then 10 minutes, then maybe even 15 minutes of meditation. Oftentimes people like to use apps instead of creating their own internal practice of messaging. They use apps, and so they get guided imageries and things. And then this experience about it's so hard to meditate when I'm anxious is very common. And oftentimes what happens is the first time that we start to try to relax, we're aware of how anxious we are. And the reason is because we often don't stop. We are moving, moving, moving. I don't know if anyone's had the experience of doing yoga when suddenly they felt they were very emotional. Although their body was moving, it allowed them a time of quiet and peace. And that's when we can be with ourselves and experience our emotions. So I would say not to be afraid of it. And to understand that it's pretty natural when one stops to feel anxious and fidgety. But that very quickly you can find your own form of meditation that will help calm that. Some people like, I use the term body-mind or mind-body. Some people like walking meditations if they're more body-mind. Some people like yoga or stretching. And some people like more mind-body, where they're doing mindfulness exercises or deep breathing or guided imagery. So it's whatever works for you. Meditation, eliciting calmness is a very individual experience. And so we encourage people to find what works for them and to try different things. There's no such thing as, I hear a lot of people say, I'm not good at meditating. There's no such thing as a good meditator. It's really about practice. We say it's like a sport. The more you practice, the better you'll get. And I would bet that those of you who feel like you're too busy or anxious to meditate are probably very efficient meditators and could gain the benefits from brief meditations.
Elyse, are there any good apps out there or any places where people could go for
Sure, that's a great question.
meditations?
Calm is a great app, and it's in English and Spanish. Headspace is great for adults or kids. It's very a lot of pictures, or insight timer people like. So those are all different ones. I like Headspace. I know a lot of people enjoy Calm as well. Does anybody want to throw up an appreciation while we're here on the chat? I think Devin's going to share one. my house plants, Devin, you're not off the hook yet. My house plant's growing, right? So you get to see that thinking hand like every day, right? Something, a nice visual, something that might have nice smells, and something you get to actually see on an ongoing basis. It's probably fun to look and see the progress. That's really nice. Devin, do you have an appreciation?
I would say my dogs.
Okay, anything, so what I often do with people is say, well, be more specific. So what about your dog do you appreciate? Because there can be many different things.
Spending time with them, the joy they bring me, how wonderful they are.
Okay, great. So different. So do you see what Devin just did? Thank you for letting me volunteer you. So she smiled. So you experience it. So the point about the meditation, about the appreciation, is not to just share it, but to really experience it. So those different characteristics or different aspects of being with her dog that she enjoyed made her smile. Other appreciation. Other questions? Well, I wanted to thank everyone for coming. I know this was the first one. I'm sorry. I saw in the chat there were different issues. I guess we'll have to figure out the kinks with the screen share, that it was the presenter view. So I'm sorry about that. But thank you, everyone, for coming. I hope that you enjoyed having a few moments to really reflect and engage in some meditation and think about these practices of appreciation and think about your battery during these challenging times. Practicing self-care and meditation is so important. So thank you all very, very much for your time, and thank you, Devin, for organizing this.
Thank you, Elyse, and thank you everyone for joining us today. This webinar has been recorded and it will be posted to our website. And we will be back next week, next Tuesday evening, with our music therapy session. So I hope you will join us then. Thank you again, everyone.
Enjoy. Take care. Thanks, everyone, for your time.